Here now is Chief Meteorologist Tom Sorrells with Talk to Tom.
Well, hello, everyone. I'm Chief Meteorologist Tom Sorrells. This is Talk to Tom. It's a dream come true for me to be here on Talk to Tom. It's a little piece of action we started back in 2004 that has grown into a weekly item here on News 6 at 5:30. And, of course, we stream always on News 6 Plus. Coming up on today's show, we're going to talk about the importance of dark skies and the problem that we have worldwide, really, most especially in North America and Europe, of light pollution. But first, I'm answering your questions. Remember, you can always submit a question at clickorlando.com/talk to Tom. Ask me anything. We've talked sports, we've talked climate change, we talk weather, we talk animals, fire, whatever you want to talk about. I'll talk about it, except, politics. We won't do that. Our first question today comes to us from Mr. Kerr.
Yeah, well, I was wondering how accurate the weather forecast is now in these days, because I'm looking back to my childhood in Germany. We lived on a little farm, and there was once a farmer, and he went with his axe to the living room and smashed the TV and shouted, "You liar!" yeah, because the weather forecast predicted nice weather, and it was raining and ruined all his harvest. Yeah, so that was the end of the TV for him. Yeah. So that I was wondering, so at the beginning you had 7-day forecast, now 10 days forecast. You predicted in 3-4 days wind. I don't understand how you can predict wind. Yeah, so I'm puzzled, but I'm very, very surprised. Yeah.
All right, Mr. Kerr, thank you for the story. I've never heard of anyone taking an axe and smashing their TV over the weather, but I understand that in times gone by, maybe you would be more inclined to that. A couple of things. First of all, wind is actually easier to predict. I can almost always tell you wind speed and direction better or closer than we can nail the actual rain pattern, or sometimes temperature. We'll miss the temperature by 2 or 3 degrees, but we know the wind's going to be coming from the east. We know wind direction pretty well. What has happened, honestly, in the last 25, 30 years, the thing that has really changed everything, and really over the last 60 years, is the speed of computation. We do a thing called numerical weather prediction. So all of this was kind of figured out, that you could do current conditions in, figure out temperature change with height through the atmosphere, model pressure changes and pressure drops, and figure out how things are going to move based on a mathematical model or an algorithm. And so what happens is, as computers speed up, we get better at forecasting. When I started in this business back in the 80s, the 3-day forecast was pretty accurate. And now the 10-day forecast is pretty accurate. And the 3-day forecast is almost absolutely 100% dead on. We hardly ever blow a 3-day forecast. It's normally a 10-day outlook, or perhaps the power of a hurricane that we blow, not the location. So it really has changed a lot with the speed and the power of computers. They say that in the future, the Weather Service will be a man, a dog, and a computer. And the dog will be there. The man's job will be to feed the dog. The computer's job will be to run the model. And the dog's job will be to bite the man if he messes with that computer. So the computer changed everything. The speed of computation changed everything, and our forecasts have gotten exponentially better as computers have taught us more on the modeling scale. And they run the numbers, we look at it and go, oh, that's right. It looks like boom, 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 and we interpret the numbers. That's why it's so much better. I'd love to say, oh, well, I'm wiser now to know so much more about No, it's the computers. They've sped up. So as they've gotten better, so have we. All right, next question comes to us from Antonio.
I know it's a lot of hills in Clermont. Why aren't there ever tornadoes that actually touch down in Clermont?
Oh, that's if you have not had a tornado get near you in Clermont, then you've led a lucky life. There are hills all over, but tornadoes can strike in any terrain. They've hit, I want to say, all 50 states. I think they've even had them in Hawaii. But tornadoes can happen anywhere. Anytime there's a thunderstorm. Any thunderstorm has enough rotation, can produce a spiral, a funnel, and a tornado. And there's always been myths about the fact that maybe they don't strike major metropolitan areas. But we've had tornadoes strike right in downtown Miami. We've had tornadoes strike right in downtown Atlanta. And we've had tornadoes strike on flatlands in Oklahoma and Kansas, Texas. And we've had them strike in hills and mountains in Colorado and East Tennessee. Tornadoes don't care about the terrain. They care about the atmosphere above. And they'll come down and hit a hill, hit a mountain. They will hit the water. They'll hit the flatlands. They will hit hills. So it's just been luck of the draw that where you live in Claremont has not had what you consider a tornado, because there have been in Lake County. And one of the worst was the Groundhog Day breakout back in the early 2000s when, we had a night of terror that tore through parts of Lake County. Did not hit Claremont, hit like Lady Lake, Mount Dora, points to the north, but didn't hit Claremont, no, but hit northern Lake County, which is just as hilly. So there you go. It can happen, and it will happen eventually again sometime. All right, let's go to our next question. Hit it.
Every evening, I ask Alexa, what is the temperature tomorrow morning? And every day she is at least 10 degrees off. For example, last week I said, Alexa, what's the temperature tomorrow? 58. And in the morning it was 42. So why is she always at least 10 degrees off?
Okay, a couple of things there. I think you need to be more specific with your smart box or your smart speaker there to ask it specifically, hey, Alexa, what is the temperature at 9 a.m. tomorrow, or at 10 a.m. tomorrow, or when I wake up tomorrow at 7 a.m., rather than what is the temperature tomorrow? Because my guess is what you're asking it, it's computing or figuring you want the temperature high for the day. So if it's 48 in the morning and she had said 58, chances are the answer that came from your Google platform was giving you the high instead of the wake up temp. What I want you to do is I want you to go to your Alexa controls online and program in weather WKMG, because I record the weather forecast 2 times a day in that studio over there for Alexa, and we program news and weather through your Alexa. If you go into your selections and your preferences and make the powerful WKMG your preference. Also, if you have an Alexa, surely you have a smartphone. You should download the WKMG weather app. It's free, and it's like having radar in your pocket. I mean, it's free. And you can open it anytime and just look, boom, one touch of a button. I'll pop up wearing a beautiful yellow tie, and you can get the temperature just like that. You don't even have to ask Alexa. Just say it. But yeah, be specific with your Alexa. Go into your preferences and prefer WKMG weather, and then download the app too on your phone. And your life will be made so much better, so much better. And did I mention that it's free? You can't beat free. All right, last question comes to us from a young boy. Hit it.
Does Spider-Man control the weather?
Does Spider-Man control the weather? I'm going to ask Tom, okay? What's your name?
Mason.
Mason, and how old are you?
4.
Wow, okay, I'll let him know. I think Tom knows Spider-Man himself, so he'll ask, okay?
Okay.
Okay.
Mason, the 4-year-old. You know what, dude? We're like McDonald's. We're getting them young. If we can just get a franchise on their mind when they're 4 years old, turn them into weather-loving, TV-watching children, I would love that from days of yore. Mason, thank you for the question. I am a huge Spider-Man fan. I've been doing weather for almost, 30 years now, 30, 35. I don't know. I'd have to count. No one's ever asked me if Spider-Man controlled the weather. I love Peter Parker. I love the old Spider-Man. If I could be any superhero, I would either be Batman or I would be Spider-Man. It's hard for me to choose between the two. They're both so cool. But I think I'd choose Spider-Man because I want to fly with my web. But Peter Parker does not, and he's close to my heart because he's a newsroom junkie like me. Peter Parker does not control the weather. No one controls the weather. The weather is nature. We can forecast the weather, but we can't make it happen, at least not yet. Not even Spider-Man can make it happen. And when people ask me about the weather or blame me for, oh gosh, it rained on Saturday, thanks for nothing, Tom, I always say, hey, I'm in sales, not management. I can sell you the weather, try to explain what's happening or what's going to happen, but I can't control it. And sadly, neither can Spider-Man. Thank you, Mason, the 4-year-old. I love you, man, and appreciate the question. All right, thank you so much for tuning in. If you have questions, you can submit them on clickorlando.com. facebook.com/talk to Tom. Stay with us as we talk to the people at the International Dark Sky Association. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Talk to Tom. I am Chief Meteorologist Tom Sorrells. If you're just now tuning in, we answered viewer questions in the first half of this show. If you'd like to get in on the party sometime and have one of your questions answered, feel free to send it to me. All you have to do is reach out to us at www.clickorlando.com/talk to Tom. Submit your questions. We'll either get you on through Zoom or try to record you somehow, or I'll just read it here. But we will get to your question. I promise. We love answering the viewer questions. Right now, we're getting dark. Well, not really. But we are going to talk about the darkness and the importance of it with our new friend, Ashley Wilson. Ashley is the Director of Conservation with the International Dark Sky Association. Ashley, welcome to Talk to Tom.
Thanks for having me.
We're excited that you're here. I got steered into meteorology a million years ago when I was in college the first time by taking an astronomy class. That was my first introduction to sky science. It wasn't atmospheric, obviously. It was deep space stuff. But I love it, love it, love it. And so I love dark sky. But for those of the folks at home who have never heard of you before, tell them what the International Dark Sky Association really is. What do you do?
We're a nonprofit organization based in Tucson, Arizona, and we are the world leading authority on light pollution, and we're the leading organization combating light pollution worldwide.
Okay, it's an organization that I'm fond of, but tell us, why are dark skies important?
There's so many reasons, Tom. First, dark skies give us the view of the stars and even a glimpse into our own galaxy. It enables us to have a connection with our shared universal heritage with this majestic view above. It enriches our lives by invoking this sense of awe and wonder unlike anything else in the whole world. So not only do we benefit from this amazing view, but dark skies and natural darkness impact human well-being. And that's due to something called the circadian rhythm. It's basically the process that regulates our bodies. It tells us when to wake up, when to be active, and when to go to sleep at night. But if we have a lot of exposure to short or blue wavelength emissions, that disrupts this process. And if we have long-term exposure to it, that can lead to long-term health effects like diabetes, obesity, and certain types of cancer.
Okay, so so outside of circadian rhythm, now when you're talking about the circadian rhythm, most people think about daylight. And I'm not getting enough sleep and I'm awake during the day, and now all of a sudden I can't sleep at night because I'm exhausted. I've been up too much. So you're saying having dark skies around helps reset your circadian rhythm?
Yes, it's having physical experience with natural darkness. So it's not just going to sleep at night, it's making sure that your room doesn't have any sources of additional artificial lighting. So you probably heard from sources like turn your phone off and turn your TV or screens off because they emit a lot of the blue light. But sometimes people experience light coming in from their windows, like from street lights, or maybe their sign lights, or other lights from things that we use outside seeping into our rooms and keeping our rooms from getting dark and allowing this natural process to happen.
You spoke of circadian rhythms for humans. What about animals? Are they impacted? They affected?
Absolutely. So for the most part, all living things are impacted by the natural daylight cycle, right? So they too are also exposed to daylight. Some animals are only active during the day. Some animals are only active at night. Some are kind of in between. So they have even picked their behaviors, when to forage for food, when to communicate with others, even like certain times of the year to mate, depending on a lunar cycle. So they are very entrained and interconnected with the amount of light exposure they're experiencing. But if we are shining light from our communities, and this is what's known as sky glow, and you get this light dome extending over communities, not only is it bright where we live, but it's now seeping outward into protected areas. So even areas that have used to be dark, they're now experiencing our light. Even marine protected areas and coral reefs around our marine communities, they're impacted by light. And so it's always bright for them as well. So the same thing that I explained for humans is now being applied to animals, to plants, to any living thing that is exposed to this pollutant.
Okay, if people really want to go enjoy the dark sky somewhere in Central Florida, where would you have them go?
The two best places will be the certified international dark sky parks. In Central Florida, that's Kissimmee Prairie State Park. And in South Florida, that is Big Cypress National Preserve. I've also heard that Dry Tortugas has some pretty pristine skies if you want to make that travel. And for North Florida, there's a patch of darkness in Apalachicola National Forest.
Well, that's only like 3 or 4 places. So there's not a lot of dark sky left.
Right, and it is diminishing every single year. In fact, a paper was just published in the journal Science last month that showed that light pollution is growing at a rate of 9% every year.
Wow.
So that means that our use of artificial lighting has doubled within the past 8 years. And so like I said, with the light domes, it's going to continue to grow and grow. And you need to travel further and further away from our communities to be able to see darkness, not only just for the stars, but for the view of the Milky Way.
Yeah, okay, talk to me real quick about this thing that you call the Love the Stars campaign.
Yeah, so that's a really exciting thing that we're promoting. We're partnering with the National Science Foundation's NORA Lab, and it's a program called Globe at Nights. It's a community science program where everyone can participate and collect data to help scientists monitor light pollution around the world. And it's really cool because it gives a human perspective to this pollutant. For the most part, we're only able to track light pollution across regions and continents and over time with satellites that orbit the Earth, much like satellites that track weather data. But the problem is not all of the artificial light we emit travels to space. So there's some information that's missing. That's where observers on the ground come in. And the program is super simple. All you do is download an app on your phone, and it tells you to go out and look for a constellation within that time frame. The constellation of the month is Orion. And Orion's pretty discernible. Yeah. Most people know what it looks like, right? Yeah. And winter also tends to have better viewing conditions. So this is a really prime time for night sky viewing. And you look for Orion, and in the app, there's different maps that show the amount of stars visible around Orion, and you enter what you see based on the night sky above. And that directly translates into data that shows how much light pollution is above our communities.
Okay, Ashley, we're running out of time here. Real quick, I love that program. I love the idea of the app. Where do they find it? How do they get involved, real quick?
It's Globe at Night. You can search for it. I believe it's gin.org, but you can search for it on Google. It's in your Play Store. You can just download it on your phone. It's free and super easy to use.
Awesome. Thank you. This is Ashley Wilson, the Director of the Conservation with the International Dark Sky Association. Ashley, thank you for being on Talk to Tom. I love it. Hopefully we'll get a lot of people to download that app and go enjoy the stars.
Remember, stars up, lights down.
Thank you. I love it. I'll be using that in the future. All right. That's a wrap with Ashley Wilson. If you have questions about the weather, remember you can submit them anytime on clickorlando.com/talk2tom. And you can watch us every Thursday afternoon at 5:30 right here on the powerful WKMG. And anytime, we're always streaming on News 6+. And while you're there, check out Florida's 4th Estate.
I think it's kind of cool to be able to show both sides and maybe like get other people's attention or show girls that it's cool to be a scientist, because a lot of mainstream media is not doing that.
Florida Foodie.
It's like creamy and it's like strong. Yeah.
It hit her.
Yeah. She's going to be jumping on the table.
Wow, that is delicious. The condensed milk.
Yeah.
Riff on this and live cams. Hundreds of people sit down just to enjoy the beach from home, overlook the city beautiful, or watch the cruise ships come in. It's all available free on News 6+. Just download the app on your TV and start watching.